Welcome along. Really hope you enjoy it and you get a lot out of it. So to start with, if you've got a mat to work on, you can always work on your carpet at home. I always work on a towel actually. What we do need to create today is a slippery surface. So if you're working on a mat and to get that slip between the mat and the actual sort of blanket, this can be a blanket or a towel, to get that movement for yourself. So first of all, we're going to start by lying down. So be very careful as you settle down onto your mat, onto your surface. Slowly come down. Now this is known as constructive rest where we are at the moment. So what we're going to start to do is just notice how the body feels here. So if you close your eyes and focus in on the body and notice how it's feeling at the moment. So noticing the sensations in the lower back. Notice the sensations from the chest all the way down through to the lower abdomen. And then begin to notice how you're breathing. So we're going to do a little bit of warming before we start. So it's always good to, before you try any kind of exercise, it's good to warm up the body and get the blood flowing around. So if you can cross your right leg over your left and use that as a little bit of support so you can rotate that right ankle. So we're rotating that around, and then at the same time we're just keeping the elbows on the mat or on the floor and rotating around the wrists. So we're just gently doing this. We're not doing it to the max. We're just going through our range of movement that we've got at the moment. And then taking it round in the other direction. If you want to do individual fingers as well, that's fine. So remembering to breathe as you do this as well. And then taking the ankle round in the other direction and wrists as well. Seeing the difference in feeling between having your hands open or having them in fists, and how you bring the fists together if you want to hold onto your thumb or just squeeze up your hands. And then from here we're going to spread the toes away. So we're pointing the toes and spreading the hands towards the ceiling. And then as you take the toe towards the knee, you're squeezing your hands. So you're pointing your toe away and then taking it into the knee. And if you focus in on your toes and really try to stretch your toes out as you bring them into the knee. And then taking that right foot down, just momentarily focusing in on the right ankle and the left ankle, and notice any differences between them. And this is what we'll be doing throughout the class today. So this is called interoceptive awareness, and it's whereabouts our body is in space, getting awareness of that and the sensations that are going through the body as well. Then we're going to hitch the left ankle onto the right knee and then rotate a little bit more. So again, you could rotate your fingers individually if you want to, or just stretch your fingers out. rotating that left ankle round and then taking it round in the other direction. And then as you point, you're opening your fingers wide, you're pointing your toes, and then as you bring the toe into the knee, you're squeezing your hands. As you bring those left toes in towards the knee, really see if you can stretch out your toes away from one another. That's lovely. So again, taking that left foot down onto the mat, closing your eyes, feeling the difference between the left ankle and the right ankle. And then from here, we're gently going to warm up the right hip. So we're taking the right hand onto the right knee and gently circling that. And then taking that round in the other direction. And focusing on how that feels in that right hip. And then take the sole of the right foot down onto the mat. Noticing the difference between the right hip and the left hip. And then bringing the left hip into the left knee. Sorry, the left knee into the left hand, and then rotating that round. And then in the other direction. And then taking that slowly back down onto the floor, and again bringing your attention to the left hip and the right hip. See if they feel pretty similar or if they still feel different. And then from here, either place your hands onto your lower belly or onto your hips, or maybe even down by your sides. Close your eyes or focus in on the ceiling and notice the sensation through the whole body. Focus in on your lower back. If you can notice any spaciousness there in that lower back. And from here we're going to roll onto the right hand side, taking the right hand under the right, by the right ear, and then stacking the hips on top of one another and the knees on top of one another, and the ankles on top of one another. And then from this position, begin to bring that upper left thigh, that femur, that bone, visualize that bone coming into the left hip socket and then relaxing away. So as you breathe in, you're relaxing. As you exhale, you're bringing that hip into the socket. So exhale. Then as you inhale again, and then exhale, bring that femur into the hip socket. So it's just a subtle movement here. So the next time you do it, on the exhale, focus in on your lower belly. So as you bring that hip socket, that femur into the hip socket, what is happening in that lower belly? See if you can subtly bring that into the spine. Inhale and relax. Exhale, bring that femur back into the hip socket. Noticing that focus on the lower belly. Inhale just one more time. So bring that femur into that hip socket. and bringing that lower belly into the spine. So inhaling, and then this time we're bringing the belly into the spine as that hip socket, as that femur goes into the hip socket. So inhale and use the exhale to bring the spine, the belly button towards the spine. So really feeling those muscles along the front of the body here. So one more time, inhale. And then use that exhale, a long, slow exhale. Feel the sensations along the front of the body as you bring that hip, that femur into that hip socket. So for the next three, we're inhaling and then we're taking that into the chest. So the chest and then the belly and then the lower belly as you bring that femur into the hip socket. So don't worry too much if you don't get this the first time round. It's quite a lot to concentrate on. So using that exhale, so subtly bring that hip, that femur into that hip socket. And then it might be like a wave as you're bringing those sensations up through from the lower belly into the chest. So just relax. And then very gently moving over onto your back. And bringing your hands onto your belly or down by your sides and just relaxing for a moment and noticing that feeling across the belly. So across the lower belly and then to kind of the upper belly and then into the chest. So from here we're going to do that round in the other direction. So from here rolling onto your left side and bringing your elbow up, your left arm up to support your head. And you're stacking your hips here, so your hips and your knees and your ankles are on top of one another. Taking an inhale and then on the exhale, taking that into the lower belly. So again, you're bringing that right hip this time into the right hip socket. And as you inhale, you're relaxing. And exhale, bringing that right hip back and then noticing whereabouts that is coming into the lower body. And then one more time. And as you exhale, subtly bringing that right hip back into the hip bone, noticing whereabouts that is in the body. And doing that 3 times into this upper belly area. So that subtle movement of that right hip moving into the socket. And then as you exhale, noticing that maybe more down on the right hand side of the body. Whereabouts is it with you? Do that 2 more times. Exhale. Noticing whereabouts that is coming through the body into that mid belly. Inhale, relaxing, and then using that exhale to take that socket back a little bit, moving that femur into that socket and seeing where that is coming in those muscles here. So the next 3, we're taking that into the chest area. Allowing that exhale to be long and slow. And then from here, gently come over onto your back, placing your hands on your belly again, or just down beside you, and taking that constructive rest. Noticing the sensations in your hips, in your pelvis, and in your lower back. So this time when we roll onto the right hand side, we're going to clasp the fingers together behind the neck. So stacking the hips, the knees and the ankles again. So this time we're taking a breath in, and then as you exhale, we're using a little bit of the slippiness of the mat and the covering, and moving your elbows in towards your knees. And then as you inhale, just relaxing. And then as you exhale, you're bringing your elbows towards your knees. Now this time when you inhale, you're keeping your elbows towards your knees and breathing into your spine. So you are flexing your spine here as you breathe in, and then as you exhale again, you're bringing your knees into your elbows. Inhale, and as you inhale, keep that curvature on the spine. And then as you exhale, bring the elbows into the knees. So do this a few times in your own time. So you might be breathing faster than me or slower. And notice how it feels in the muscles of your spine and the muscles across the front of your belly and into your chest. Then relax on your side and allow your body to roll over onto your back again. Taking a moment to notice the sensations there. So how is that feeling across your back and across your belly, all the way up into your chest? So we're going to do that again on the other side. So roll onto your left hand side. Again, clasp your fingers behind your neck. Just checking that your hips and knees and ankles are stacked. And then as you breathe in, you're flexing your back. And as you breathe out, you're taking your knees towards your elbows. So doing this in your own time and really feeling the sensations in your spine and across the front of your body. So that's knees towards the elbows. As you exhale, and as you inhale, you're flexing your spine. And then when you've finished rolling onto your back, keeping your knees bent, the soles of your feet on your back, and we'll take an active rest there, noticing the sensations in your hips, in your pelvis and in your lower back. So from here we've got the knees bent, the soles of the feet on the mat. Taking your right knee into your chest and taking your right hand and placing that over your right kneecap. Then as you breathe in, you're relaxing that right knee. So maybe taking it away from the body a little bit. And then as you exhale, you're taking that right thigh, that right knee into the right side of the body. So that's not being brought in by your hand, that's your right knee and your right thigh working. And as you exhale, allow them to float away from your body. So the exhale is where a lot of the work happens. So you're really exhaling out and bringing that thigh into the right hand side of the body. So all that work is being done by the muscles in your legs and the muscles in your abdomen and your lower body. So just doing this a few times in your own time. You might be going faster than me or slower, and then using that exhale to really push out the last little bit of air in your lungs. And then taking the sole of your right foot down onto the mat, relaxing your hands down beside you or placing them on your belly and noticing the sensations in your right hip and maybe different sensations in your left hip. Notice how the whole of the right leg feels and the whole of the left leg. And then bring that left leg in towards you, placing your left hand over the left kneecap. And as you inhale, taking that left knee away from you a little bit. And then as you exhale, bringing that left knee into the chest. So again, all that work is being done by the muscles in the left thigh and the left hand side of the body and all the abs. So doing a few of these in your own time. So you might be going a little bit faster than me or a little bit slower. And when you've done about 3 or 5 of these, placing the sole of your left foot on your mat, relaxing your hands away, either keeping your hands on your belly or down beside you on your mat, and noticing the sensations in your hips, the difference between your left hip and your right hip. So from here we're going to move away with the move the cover away. And we're coming into bridge pose. So bridge pose is still on your back. And the soles of your feet are in contact with your mat, your knees are bent. Now when you do bridge pose, you are pushing into the soles of your feet and raising your torso or your hips up towards the ceiling. And then as you bring them down again, you're taking each of the vertebrae and allowing them to come down one by one in contact with the mat. So just do this a couple of times and see how it feels on your knees and your thighs. So if you've got very long legs, if you take your feet close into your bottom, you might find that it just doesn't work for you. It's very, very difficult to get your torso up. So just move your feet away a little bit from you and then test again to see if all that work is being done in the muscles of the torso. So spend a little bit of time just recognizing whereabouts your feet need to be in relation to your back. Basically, the legs should be kind of straight down. So as you come up, it's like a 90-degree angle here between your leg and the mat. So you can really push down into them as you're bringing your torso up. And then as you bring your torso up, you're breathing in and you're taking just your right arm up behind you. So stretching away that right arm. If that is not available to you to come all the way down to the floor, then it's fine to keep it up to the ceiling or bend it a little bit. What we are going to try and do is to reach away with that right arm. And then as we exhale, we're keeping the right arm there, really stretched away and slowly taking the body down. So vertebrae by vertebrae. Then as you inhale again, you're still stretching that right arm away, bringing the hips up to the ceiling, and then this time as you exhale, the arm is coming down with the hips. So the arm comes up to the ceiling and all the way down along beside you. Then with your next inhale, you're taking the hips up and your arm up, your left arm up towards the ceiling, and then your left arm comes along the floor behind you. If that isn't available to you, if that is pulling in your shoulder, it's okay to reach up more towards the ceiling or to bend that arm. And then as you exhale, you're taking your spine all the way down and leaving your arm up and back. If you can, pull away with your left arm. So you're really reaching with your fingertips along the floor, if that is available to you. And then from here, you're taking as you breathe in, your hips up to the ceiling, and we're taking that left arm all the way down. And repeating that on the right hand side again, so the right arm comes up, the hips go back, you're breathing in, and then as you breathe out, the right arm is staying where it is, and the back comes down. And then as you breathe in, the back comes all the way up, and then you're taking your right arm down as your back comes down towards the ceiling. And then as you breathe in, the left arm comes up and back. And then as you exhale, the back goes all the way down to the floor. And then as you inhale, hips come up to the ceiling. And then as you exhale, the left hand comes up to the ceiling and all the way back down again. We're going to do that one more time on each side. But if there's any pinching or if it doesn't feel good, then stay in the resting pose. So exhaling, the back down, inhale, hips up, exhale, right arm down, inhale, hips up, left arm back, exhale, hips down, inhale, left arm back, and exhale, left arm down and hips down. And then closing your eyes or gazing at the ceiling and noticing the sensations through the body, noticing the sensations across the lower back. Is that widening? Is there more space there? Noticing the sensations all the way down the spine. Been working all the muscles there. So then from here, we're gently going to roll over onto the right hand side and come up onto all fours. Just checking alignment here. So the wrists are under the shoulders and the knees are under the hips. And you've got your hips about hip width apart or a little bit wider. And your arms are maybe just a little bit wider than your shoulders. You can take your hands into fists if that is more comfy for you. So breathing in, we're really lengthening along the spine and lengthening into the coccyx, the lower spine. So really lengthening along the spine. And then as you exhale, we're bending the knees. We're taking the elbows down onto the mat. And then as you inhale, you're coming back up again. If that's a bit tricky with your knees, you can roll up your blanket or your towel and just shoot that along behind your knees. So as you come down again, as you're exhaling down, gives you a little bit more support there. And then coming back up again onto all fours, lengthening through the top of the head and the base of the spine as you breathe in. And then as you exhale, we're coming back down again just onto the elbows. And then coming all the way back up again. So doing 2 more of these and exhale down. Back into sunbird. And exhale down. And then as you inhale and you're coming back up again, we're going to start to lay on our belly. So comfortably coming down, very carefully coming down onto the belly. Taking the forehead onto the mat. Taking the hands under the shoulders. So you've got the tops of the feet on your mat. Then as you inhale, you're taking your right hand forward and stretching away your left leg. So you can point your left toe or you can take the heel away, whichever you feel is most appropriate. And then as you exhale, your hands are coming back down again. This time as you inhale, it's the left arm that comes away and the right leg. Exhale as you bring your head back down again in your hands. Inhale, right arm, left leg. Exhale, head back to the mat. Inhale, left arm, right leg. Exhale, all back to the mat. If there's any pinching in here, just leave this out. Inhale, right arm, left leg, really stretching through the top of the head. Exhale, all back to the mat. Inhale, left arm, right leg. Exhale, all back to the mat. So take a little breather there. Maybe have a little wriggle on the mat. Just loosen yourself up a little bit. It's always good to have a little wriggle now and again. And then from here we're going to take both arms and both legs. But if this is pinching or painful in any way, then please don't do it. So inhaling. So as you take your head off the mat, you're pushing through the top of your head. Taking both arms out in front and both legs. And then as you exhale, head and all back to the mat. So just doing this one more time. Inhale. And then exhale, head and the hands and feet all back to the mat. And taking an ear to the mat so you're nicely relaxed. Bend your knees and take your feet gently from side to side, only if that feels good. Or simply lie here. If lying on your belly is not for you, then please don't do it. So move over onto your back. Or if you want to, you can move into child's pose. So if you would like to lie on your back now, and we'll move into Shavasana. So this gives us a little bit of time to concentrate on that lower back. Now, if lying down with your legs straight along the floor is challenging for you, then please bring the soles of your feet onto your mat and bend your knees. That can be helpful. Or taking your knees up onto a chair. So I'll illustrate that. So your back is all along the floor, and then you could take your knees, and then the chair is here, for example, like this. So either closing your eyes or lowering your gaze or gazing at the ceiling, whichever you prefer and is comfy for you. Visualize the structure of the lower back. Visualize all the muscles and the nerves. Visualize your lower back being really well hydrated, pliable, soft, flexible, open. Visualize there is space between each of your vertebrae. Visualize the discs are plump and hydrated. Visualize the muscles around the vertebrae, that they are strong and supportive. Take a moment of compassion for yourself if you have pain. Let go of phrases like, I have a bad back. Instead, bring in, I have compassion for my lower back. I have compassion for my lower back. Take a moment to have compassion for yourself. And take a moment to feel confident in your lower back and that it can support you through the rest of your life. Let go of all visualizations now, of all effort. And let your body go of all tensions. And allow yourself to completely relax. You'll hear my voice again in 2 minutes. very gently begin to blink open your eyes, wiggle your fingers and your toes. Maybe take a deep breath in and a long sigh out. And in your own time, roll onto your right hand side. And when you're ready, gently using your hands to look after your spine, bring yourself to a seated position. So your seated position can be sitting in a chair. We're going to do a very short meditation. So you can be sitting in a chair. If you're sitting on the floor, if you'd like to use some cushions, I've got a block here. You can lean against something if you want to. Don't have to have your legs crossed. Keep your legs straight, or just slightly bent if it's more comfy for you. So as we move into meditation, you can either gaze at the floor or close your eyes, whichever you find comfortable. So tune into how your back feels. Remember those feelings of strength and confidence that your back can hold you up and do what you need it to do. Remember those feelings of empathy and compassion for your back if you have struggled with lower back pain. And then the knowledge that things can always change for the better. Things can always change for the better. Namaste.